Hello everyone and welcome to the $500 gaming PC build of the month for February 2013, brought to you by Noob Computer Build. My name is Corey. Here today we have the $500 build, and as you can see if you have not watched the other builds for this month, we are doing things a little bit differently. On the screen here we have the blog up where I write the monthly gaming PC build article at noobcomputerbuild.com. You could follow along if you like by visiting the article of the month, which is linked in the description as well, or you can just follow along here. Or if you want to find out more information about each piece of hardware or why I choose each piece of hardware, you may read the article as well, which I urge you to do, or if you need help, have questions, feedback, concerns, well, you can comment either here or on the blog itself as well, where I'd be more than willing to help you out or respond to any questions. All right, getting started. We're going to start with the $500 gaming PC build of the month. Scrolling down here, we can see that it is priced currently as of a couple of days ago. Today is the beginning of February, so for $513, that's where we have the build priced at currently. A little bit over $13 over the $500 range. However, it's getting a little hard to squeeze under $500, where I would not recommend the certain hardware that would get me under the $500 mark. But anyways, everything I recommend here I would think to be the best value that you can get. So for this $500 build, you'll be able to play every game out there. Now, I may not be able to play maxed out at 1920 by 1080 resolutions, but some games you will be able to. And some games that are a little more graphics intensive, maybe not. But this is the budget build, nothing too fancy. It's minimum, I think the minimum baseline gaming PC that you would build to get into the gaming PC build market. Yeah, so that's just my opinion, and so let's move on. And for anybody, this price, the $513, is based on Amazon.com pricing. I do this because it keeps things simple and easy to organize and for you guys and myself as well. If you're from Canada, you can go to Amazon.ca or the UK site, or newegg.com, newegg.ca are great examples as well. But you can purchase from wherever you like. So in wherever you live. So these are just suggestions to get you started. Okay, starting off, as I've mentioned before, I always include the 3D Mark benchmarks that I find on the 3dmark.com site as a baseline benchmark for the graphics cards and the processors I choose. Like I've said before, they're not 100% accurate, but that's because people overclock their graphics cards and processors, which may throw scores off a bit. As well, they do other things that may throw scores off a bit, but this is just to give you an idea. As well, you can visit the link that I always provide to the original image and benchmarks where I get the picture from, where you can also search other combinations of graphics cards and processors, or the same ones for other people that have also matched the same processor graphics card for the build that I do. All right. As well, this one for the $500 build, well, all of the builds, I always have some upgrade suggestions for anyone who might have a few extra dollars to spend now or in the future to your build. This for the $500 build in the article, I include it before the overview of the hardware, but usually I do it after. So you read the hardware, then you can see where you have potential to upgrade. I'll go back to that after we go through the hardware. All right, getting started. For the processor, for the $500 build, we have the Intel Core i3-3220 dual core processor. It's a great little starter processor for the baseline PC build, gaming PC build here. And then we pair it with the GTX 650 Ti graphics card later, but this is a good card. Nothing too special. You probably won't be overclocking it. It comes at 3.3 gigahertz, dual core, good entry-level processor. Here we have the motherboard we have for $59.99 is the MSI B75 motherboard, B75 MAE33 motherboard. It's chosen not because it's special or over the top, but it's affordable. It fits into the build. It gives us everything we need. It fits the i3-3220 processor. It fits the 8 gigs of RAM that I include later with a maximum capacity of 16 gigs. It fits the one graphics card because we're not going to be, there's no bells or whistles on this thing. It does what you need to do, and that's what you need for a budget build because you're trying to trim off all the fat and just spend everything you have on the build's performance. So, moving on. The graphics card chosen is the EVGA GeForce GTX 650 Ti graphics card for $139.99. It was used last month as well. Has low power demands, so it's a great choice for the $500 build. No demand on power here, so and it provides pretty good performance. So it's a good choice card here, I think, for the $500 entry-level PC build. Moving on, we have 8 gigabytes Kingston Technology HyperX RAM for $41.98. This is in fact the same RAM that I used for the $1,000 build because 8 gigabytes is plenty of RAM for especially an entry-level build, but generally you don't need more. In the $1,500 build, I do include 16 gigabytes. However, that's because might as well. You have that budget, might as well get 16 gigabytes to future-proof the build, but 16 gigabytes would be way too much for the $500 build, and so we use a pretty good 8 here. Going on, we use, for the hard drive, we use the Western Digital Caviar Blue 500 gigabyte hard drive for $60.28. The other two builds I include the Western Digital Caviar Blue 1 terabyte, but for the $500 build, as I said before, we're trimming the fat. Could go with a 1 terabyte drive, but you know why? 500 gigabytes will hold plenty of games. And if you want, you can purchase another hard drive later to fill your needs of more space. But if you're just wanting to get started in gaming PC builds, 500 gigs is a good start for a decent price. And now for the power supply unit. We have 450 watts continuous power with the Antec VP450 PSU. This is a really great power supply for this level of PC. 450 watts continuous power. The continuous power is the important thing of this power supply because you may not get that with other cheaper power supplies, but this is a well-rated and cost-friendly power supply that will be just perfect for this build. Nothing more, nothing less. So, moving on. The case I choose, which is actually a very popular case for the entry-level PCs, is the NZXT Technology Source 210 computer case. $35.75, great price. Also, it actually looks pretty good, and it's a sturdy, affordable case. Can't go wrong. Looks good. Other kind of lower-end cases or not as expensive cases, sometimes are flimsy and have that cheap kind of flimsy plastic. This isn't steel or anything, but it could fit 6 fans, and it fits everything just perfectly, and it looks pretty decent. So I think it looks good. And now finally, the same optical drive I use for every build because optical drives are becoming less and less special. All I used mine for was to install the OS. You don't even need the optical drive if you don't need it. If you don't have any installations that you use DVDs for anymore, you can install your OS with a USB card, etc., or an external hard drive. But this $16.99, my recommendations are based on the cheapest optical drives that work. So there you have it. And now just to finish things off, I'm going to move back up to the separate recommendations we have for the $500 build. For the processor, we have the Intel Core. The secondary recommendations, if you have little extra cash to spend, the processor I recommend is the Intel Core i5 3350p quad-core processor, $179.95. You'd purchase that instead of purchasing the i3-3220 for $119. I do not recommend any other motherboard because there's no point for this budget range. If you wanted to boost up your budget, go to the $1,000 build or add any of these other hardware constituents. The other hard graphics card I recommend is the Gigabyte Radeon HD 7851 gigabyte graphics card. However, if you do want to go with that graphics card, I would bump up the power supply because you would need a minimum, I believe, 500 watts, whereas the one I recommend is 450. So you could go with the 500 watt power supply, or here I recommend the 600 watt Corsair Builder Series power supply. So keep that in mind. If you're doing a graphics card upgrade, go with the other power supply. RAM or hard drive, you could go up to 1 terabyte Western Digital if you wanted. RAM, 8 gigabytes is plenty. You could save some cash and go with 4, but just go with the 8 and no more. You could if you do more than gaming, but otherwise it's not really worth it. And finally, if you don't like the look of the NZXT case I suggested, you could go with something like the Cooler Master Elite 430. It's another really affordable case, just a little bit more, but it's up to you. Cases are really based on preference. And no other optical drives. Just buy the cheapest one you find is my suggestion. So there you have it for the $500 gaming PC build of the month. If you have any questions, please leave a comment here or visit the blog and comment there. I'll help you out. Comment with feedback, questions, concerns, anything you like. Thank you.